Well, good evening. I'm going to continue with the series that's based on Revelation chapter 11. Do you know the two witnesses? And I'm going to continue with verse 11:18. And the nations were angry, and thy wrath is come, and the time of the dead that they should be judged, and that thou shouldst give them reward to the servants, the prophets, and to the saints, and to them that fear thy name, small and great, and should destroy them which destroy the earth. Well, of course, there's a lot to say about this one. And I'm probably not as prepared as I should be, or could be. But I need to keep on taking stabs at it. I'll do multiple videos, if that's what it takes. But this is what was talked about as, I believe, the judgment period, or the judgment hour, is another way it was said. I forget where that was said in Revelations. Well, it's almost like the Revelation books, even though they might have had some help from the next level to actually either number them and chapter them, because it's like the first 12 are like related to the first wave and set the stage for the second wave. And the second wave is most described starting in Revelation 13, chapter 13. So, I mean, but a number of the chapters actually refer to the whole process, which Revelation 11 does, Revelation 12 does, but not as much. No, actually, Revelation 12 doesn't. It leaves off with when T left, pretty much, it seems like. And but applies to everything thereafter in the way that it's said. And I'll do Revelation 12 pretty soon here. I just want to get through Revelation 11 before I go to 12. So so the nations were angry. Now the nations actually are people, but also it's actually from the Greek word ethnos, and which is interpreted many times as Gentiles, because it's referring to individuals that were not planted by the next level. The souls weren't planted into their vehicles by the next level. But that's kind of a I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't have its relationship to the truth, because the next level doesn't plant souls into all the human vehicles on the planet. They do it only during the times that the older members are incarnate, as I understand it. But that can be from birth. So anybody that was born while they were incarnate potentially has a soul pocket, a soul. So So that's a lot of people, it can potentially be. And it will likely be in certain areas of the country, of the world, but it seems pretty apparent from those actions that the English-speaking countries of the world were the primary areas where the next level might have been planting souls. And I say that because when Doe sent out did the USA Today advertisement, that was an international edition. So I don't know if that was published in and of course the internet materials is all international, but it wasn't done in different languages. So it's not excluding anybody really that can read it and understand it, and many times maybe even find help from the next level to move to the United States, etc. To be here for the final push, the final wave, the second and final wave, or to be in some other area that the next level was monitoring. And so after that USA Today advertisement, that was a third of a page, and it's a lot of words. You should go read it. Everybody should read it, for sure, and read it several times, I believe, would be your benefit, as it is to mine. After that, Doe started a project that June Odie was the head of, although I don't know if she was the only one that did the editing to the USA Today information advertisement that was paid for by Doe and crew. And because we had jobs then, so we were able to put away some money to do things like that. I think the ad was a third of a page, and it cost $30,000 for one day, for one printing in both the international edition and the U.S. national edition. And that was, I believe, the third thunder of Revelation 10, which thunder is the same word as roar. The roar of the lion from Judea, which is, well, Lucifer was also referred to as a lion, but not the same way that Doe is referred to as a lion. But it goes to show that he gave us the indication that Lucifer was Doe's adversary, his main rival, who I spoke about in a previous video, had an experience with in a bookstore, I believe in Portland or maybe Seattle. I'm not exactly sure which city it was, but I believe it was in the Northwest, where Doe felt like he saw Lucifer. He didn't describe it any further than that, but he said he was frightened by the sight in a bookstore. So anyway, these people that are being spoken about as nations are a multitude. The ethnos translates to a multitude, associated or living together. A company, a troop, a swarm, a multitude of individuals of the same nature or genus, the human family, a tribe, nation, people, group. Or in the Old Testament, foreign nations not worshiping the true God. Of course, nations can't worship the true God. Only people can worship the true God. And worship actually means, according to Do, give service to, provide service to, be in service to, perform tasks to, be employed by, is what it really is, which is always a voluntary situation every day of our lives. And it maintains that way in the next level. Everybody can still grow to their own sense of capacity, whatever it is. And individuals put out different forms of effort, but there's no competition. Yet there's no jealousy, because those are human characteristics sown as seeds in human consciousness by the Luciferian space aliens, who resent the next level and are jealous of the next level, are envious of the next level. But the way they see it is that they're beyond, I think, thinking of it in those terms. They just see the next level as space aliens that have developed more technology, and so can do more stuff, which is true. Of course, they are extraterrestrials, but they're not limited to one terrestrial location, or any terrestrial location, and they do have advanced technology. So it's not like they believe something that's not true. What they don't seem to understand or remember from when they were exposed to the truth, which might have been only in degrees while they were working for the next level, because even in the next level, it's a need-to-know basis. You don't automatically know everything that's going on everywhere or anywhere, except for the tasks you're involved in. And that's plenty to keep your mind occupied. Believe me, it's not like they sit around, pondering what everybody else is doing. They've got their hands full with the tasks they're doing. And that's part of what I'm going to talk about on this video, that those 24 elders, those 4 living beings, I believe are also talked about as 4 horns, and also considered to be the 4 winds. And Do, when they designed the Earth Lab part of the movie script that they said was fiction based on the truth, designed an Earth Lab that showed like a replica, a living, working replica of working to some degree, replica of the Earth that was inside the planet Pluto. And around that replica of the Earth were 4 spacecrafts, and they were indicating by the way those spacecrafts were drawn that they were in communication with what was going on the Earth. And so I suspect that basically, so the 4 living beings are the 4 archangels, but maybe archangels to come, future archangels, but perhaps the archangels that are depicted in Revelation chapter 7, which are depicted after or during the 6th seal opening. So, because it talks about them as being holding back the winds, and we all know what holding back the winds does when it's in combination with the sun's fiery activity increasing, and or the heating of the magma inside the Earth, producing heat. But that remember the Lord said that the earth would be destroyed by fire this next time. And that was said by some of the Old Testament prophets. And I don't remember now if Jesus said that. But I'll go back and look at that and put it in the notes for the description of this video if I find it. But, well, yes, he did. He said that the recycling would take place by the chaff being put into the fires, being burnt up. And that chaff, that the demonstration of those fires doesn't start with the talk of the lake of fire, which is at the end of the sixth seal and seventh seal. Appears to be during the seventh seal, or at the end of the seventh seal, because the seals are all related to affirmation periods when individuals in the human kingdom can show their allegiance to the next level. And that doesn't necessarily have to mean they do it in particular terminology. In fact, they might not even know about Ti and Do. And they can show their allegiance to the next level by separating from the human kingdom. And the human kingdom behaviors and ways as described by the rulers of the human kingdom, which are the Luciferian space aliens, Lucifer in particular, who's spoken about as the dragon, and his fire. And his fire is the fire of sensuality and passions, and deceit and manipulation and war, and anything goes to satisfy his agenda. Not that he well, just like the humans, he justifies the wars as being necessary, and he knows that's the way the garden grows, that everything is cyclic anyway, and so I don't know if he justifies it by that they're all going to die anyway, so I'm just, accelerating them. Even though I don't know that he's actually killing anybody physically, but he's killing souls. He's trying to kill souls. And that he does that by taking them over so that they believe the information that he provides, which Doe called misinformation mind. And there's only two sources of mind. There's only two types of mind, is what Doe said. And there's misinformation mind and there's true mind. And it all boils down to information as well, and programming, and programs that we accept and reject. And like Doe described, a human vehicle as having that is deposited with the soul as a vase that's a glass vase that you can see through, so that it has two balloons in it, and one balloon holds the human mind of the vehicle, and the other balloon holds next level mind of the vehicle. And those balloons extend outside the vehicle, and the object for the next level classroom, whatever classroom we're in, right now we're in a broad classroom situation. The next level is watching those that have asked to be students. They're in spacecrafts watching everybody and paying attention to what their needs are, and helping them with their lessons, the lessons that are appropriate for them, and helping them prepare to separate more and more from the human kingdom. and at the same time provide the next level with service by standing up for tea and dough. So so everybody else is a foreign nation. Everybody else that's not, but we don't, of course, know who those are and who those aren't, because we don't know who's been given a soul and when they could wake up and when they might fall and rise again. Because until each vehicle dies, their fate isn't set in stone. And their fate isn't set in stone after they die necessarily, but it depends on what the next level sees that they've done with their life. Even if they never received a soul, it seems like the next level talks about the dead are judged. And the dead are all the humans. All humans are dead. We're all dead unless we start getting rid of some of the human mind out of that balloon and replacing and filling up the next level balloon with next level mind. And next level mind is filled up not by not by meditating or not by saying prayers. I mean, prayers and meditation have their value. Prayers as communicating with the next level, asking for help, mostly in strength, and next steps. That's the only prayers really that are necessary or worthwhile that we were taught in the classroom. And those are all done in secret, not as groups, as individuals that do that. So nobody needs to see it, because when you start doing it in public, it's like wearing it on your sleeve. It's like showing everybody that you're holy. You're doing something holy. And we know that in general, people look up to people that are thought to be godly or holy. Some do, but of course, many have outgrown that and seen through it, and so they become atheists. But then they also can be trapped into atheism and not recognize that there are beings that actually created us and were the source of that depiction of holiness. Of being communicating with the next level as being something that is holy. It definitely is holy. It's hallowed. It's special. It's grace. It's everything. If you don't have a connection with the older members, we have nothing. And we can never assume that we have connection with the older members. We can never assume that we will always have connection with the older members, because we can be tricked. Like Jesus said, there's going to be people in the end age that are going to be saying, Lord this and Lord that, and but they're not doing what he said, what he taught. So if they're supporting the killing of people from Islam, because they're terrorists, or they're against Obama and liberals because of their whatever things that they don't like about them, their sexuality tolerance, or their their tolerance of and lifestyles, homosexuals, or people that don't go along with the status quo and reject it, and put tattoos all over their bodies, and or sexual, what they would call deviants, who are they're not any more deviant than anybody else, just because they're having all kinds of sex, but that doesn't mean that they're also overcoming sexuality, which is necessary to grow closer and closer to our older members. And so we're all judged by what we each put into it, and that judgment actually is a measurement, and it can't be done by humans. Humans can't judge one another. That's why Jesus said, "Judge not, lest you be judged," because you'll be judged the way that you seek to judge others. So for anybody that's coming down on somebody else for no reason, like Jesus said that those that are angry with their neighbor without cause are going to be subject to the judgment, because and they will, but the next level won't be angry with them for no cause. They will be angry with them because they were breaking the law that Jesus provided. And so for people to be angry with somebody that's gay or LGBTQ is flat without cause, because they can't actually talk about something that Jesus said that is a just cause to be angry with somebody. If somebody kills somebody else, that's a just cause to be angry with them. But it doesn't mean that to kill them would be the solution to that anger. No, that wouldn't be the solution to the anger. The solution to that anger would be to bring it up to them, to tell them that they're breaking God's law. Because that's what Jesus taught to do. He said, when you have a problem with somebody else, your brother, sister, brother as a human brother in terms of all being of the same human family, it has nothing to do with gender. It just developed that way during this civilization. The next level could develop it the opposite way in another civilization if they wanted to. And then the males would all be having to overcome seeing the females looking down on them, as happened in this civilization with the males looking down on the females. And both actually are extremely valuable growth opportunities, because in the early years when there were slaves and the females were expected to raise the children and weren't as involved in business and whatever else, which I think there's been some distortions about that in the Jewish community especially, but throughout the world, of course, they have their the females walk behind the males, and I think in the Chinese culture, and maybe that's Indian culture actually. I'm thinking about, yeah, but I mean, they're all carryovers from previous next level classrooms that ended up becoming distorted, I believe. I'm not sure that in terms of, of course, all of them. Of course, you can't talk about all of the sects because a lot of the sects come from other sects. I can't say that word without it sounding like sex. Maybe it is all different forms of sex, I guess. Okay? I don't know, I'm being silly, but so back to Revelation 11:18. The nations are angry. Well, what angry is actually from the Greek word orgizo. I really should put this on my other form so you can see the meanings with this. So let me do that. switch over to this other screen here. And then switch to this. And there it is. I actually had prepared it. Except, oh, I had this, gotta put this back right. Okay, so you can see my silly face. And, well, like Doe said, my prune face. Not talking about me, because I didn't have a prune face when I was with him. But now I have more of a prune face. Anyway, but, my vehicle. So angry actually comes from the Greek word orgizo, pronounced orgidzo, maybe like that, which comes from orge, orgme, which is from orgme, which is properly desire. So the nations and also it has to do with violent passion. But let me go back to those other ones, because sometimes you get a better perspective when you look at more of the origin, the first usage, which had to do with provoking or enraging. So the nations were provoked or enraged or became exasperated or are angry, wroth. Let me go back one more. No, I don't want to go there. So, now it doesn't say why they were angry, but it's in response to the fact that the next level is now reigning. The next level is now king, is the ruler, instead of the Luciferians. And so, Lucifer, Doe said, Lucifer and the space aliens were angry that their time was going to be shortened, and before they were recycled, or if they know the scripture, which they probably do, because they've been monitoring it for 1,000 years. Through the humans that they inhabit and take over, then they would know that the plan was that after the human kingdom is fully spaded, and so all the tares are removed, the false seeds planted by the Luciferians, so the human vehicles are mostly recycled. And are actually burned up by the fires, the lake of fire, which would appear to be tremendous volcanic activity. That is increasing, by the way. There's one that just went off, I think, where was that? Maybe Alaska? Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure though. But so if the Luciferians are mad, the nations are going to be mad. And so that's why you see so much anger, because there's nothing holding that back. So it's basically giving liberty to all the humans that have built up anger over generations even, that they can't even hold it back anymore. And so they go on rampages and they kill each other, and they start wars, and they export their weapons all over the world. Like I saw Dick Cheney talking about how if they'd stayed in Afghanistan and Iraq, we wouldn't have this problem with ISIS. And then it was pointed out by the guy that was doing this on YouTube that that would mean basically taking over those countries. And you think there wasn't going to be a continued guerrilla warfare happening in those countries? You think you're going to get rid of everybody? Well, if you did, then you're going to actually be starting wars with the countries around there, just like Syria and Lebanon and Iran and Azerbaijan and Bajan and Pakistan and India. Well, I guess India is more of an ally because they're Hindus as opposed to Islam. And so I guess the British made peace with the Hindus. I'm just guessing now. And so by taking them over, sort of, trying to anyway, until Gandhi ran them out. But they ended up embracing the culture of money making and profiteering. And so now they're buying a bunch of jets, fighter jets, from the United States or from Norway, I think, is the other bidder, or maybe Sweden, for the jets, for the best deal. But the United States has been working with them, in that government for a long time. So, where Pakistan is kind of looked down upon by the United States. And then, so, all these countries are all making their allegiances, and they have their own polarity in terms of for and against. Right, and it's all a matter of degrees, and it's all profit-based, but see, the anger just is going to keep building. That's why this is not going away. There's going to be more and more terrorism because there's no desire to stop the anger. Once the next level is not there to provide the mindset, their mindset of restraint. Tiendo taught us right from the beginning. There were a number of key words that we were taught right in the classroom in Wyoming when we were living outdoors. And one was restraint. Restraining what you say, restraining what you think, restraining what you do. So instead of getting mad at somebody and wanting to strike out at them, you restrain yourself from doing that. And that's building your next level mind, because you're following the instruction provided by the next level. You turn the other cheek, that even if you end up losing your vehicle or part of your vehicle because of that, it's better, because the next level will be smiling on you and will see that you are one of their children, and they will work with you until you tell them not to, and you insist that you don't want anything to do with them anymore, and you go against them, and then you start preaching to other people that they don't exist and things like that. Then you're going down the road of no return. Like Jesus said, the unforgivable sin is telling others. Blasphemy had to do with speaking against the reality of the next level and everything they taught. Speaking against what they taught is part of that. So justifying killing other humans would be speaking against what the next level taught. So that would be the biggest form of blasphemy. And once someone is doing that, it's not that the next level won't forgive them if they come to their senses at some point. But if they don't come to their senses by the time they die, then that spirit or soul, if it had a soul to begin with, cannot change anymore. Because the only way you can change what's in that, what mind is in that soul or that vehicle, is by changing our behavior in physically and mentally. Because that's what makes the impression on the genetics, on the flesh, that results in the spirit of the vehicle. But and also fills the next level well, it becomes synonymous, I guess, with then being part of our soul. But we can lose it. We can lose what we have in our souls. Like Jesus said, what you've been given can be taken away. And he said it wouldn't be taken away if you didn't use it. Like if you didn't, like in the parable of the talents, and where the master of the vineyard went away, but he left each of his main servants with a certain amount of money to bring about fruit with, like to invest. And one of them just buried it so that it wouldn't be stolen or anything, and one of them didn't use it, didn't do anything with it, and but some actually invested it and got a return from it. In other words, they profited by it. In other words, they got more mind. They made more of they were providing service, because service is tasks. It's doing things. I mean, in that context would be the service would be like the money represented giving to others the mind from the next level, that they then would give service to the next level back. And so that's the investment. So the next level now has 2 individuals, or more, or 3 or 4 or 6 individuals that are giving them service. And it's not because they want service to lord over them. No, they don't want to lord over anybody. They don't have any reason to want to lord over anybody. They know who they are and what they've got and where they're going and who they work for. Most of all, they know who they work for. They know they're all the members. And they know that there's no better jobs. There's no better activity than that. And this is practical we're talking about. I'm not talking about theoretical. They don't sit around and philosophize. I mean, even though that's fun for humans to do, it gets old. You know, you can talk about things till you're blue in the face, and I mean, people do it, and they do it till they die. And I mean, I probably would be doing it till I die. Maybe I guess I am doing it to some degree till I die, but I don't really I don't thrive on it, on thinking about the possibilities of how things work, because I try to that part of my mind I need to get rid of. That's like we had a lesson with Glenn Odie, and I don't think Glenn Odie would mind me saying this. In fact, I feel like when I said that, I like saw him smile. And I don't doubt that he did. But if I remember correctly, he was like one of his demons, so to speak. A demon is anybody that takes us away from graduating, into the next level because of not overcoming that influence. So because he had an influence that is a good influence in the world, because it wanted to fix things. Like for instance, I think one example was he was thinking about how there could be a better prison system. And I think he reported that in the slippage meeting as something that he was spending time on, dwelling on, like daydreaming on, or maybe it was at nighttime, I don't know. That wasn't instruction for him to think about. We didn't have instruction to try to fix the world. And, so that was a slippage for him. But see, that's kind of an advanced slippage, right? Because it's not affecting anybody else. It's not, taking down anybody else or influencing anybody else. And it's with good intentions. But in the classroom, our intention, our selfish intentions, our human intentions are no longer good intentions because they don't fill our soul pocket with the new information, the new mind, and takes away energy and effort from restraining our thoughts, and it's part of restraining our thoughts also, and restraining our body, taking over the human vehicle. We were sent here, the souls were sent here to take over a human vehicle. And also, humans, we were sent here, the next level souls were sent here to deposit mind. That's not to deposit human mind, because those souls didn't have human mind in them. Those souls came from the last time they were with incarnate older members. So when they came on those crashed spacecrafts, their souls still had all the information and all the next level mind they received when they were with Jesus. And before that, when they were with Moses and they were abiding by the Moses lesson steps. And before that, when they were abiding with, if there were individuals that were with Enoch, and the ones that were with Adam, and maybe even some came from a previous civilization. Maybe the 4 living beings who were in Tiando's classroom, I believe, maybe they came from a previous classroom, the souls, maybe as very young souls. I don't know. Tiando didn't talk about it that way. So that's, in a sense, I'm extending myself, but at least it's telling you what I think Tiando didn't talk about. So, because dwelling on that kind of stuff doesn't get you anywhere. I mean, so I wouldn't repeat those kind of things. If those ideas occur to us, I can understand that for somebody that hasn't been exposed to the vast amount of information that Tiando provided. Okay. Then, of course, if thoughts occur to them. In fact, I was commenting with and replying and exchanging information with somebody on my YouTube channel. That was one of the last videos I did, and he was telling me things about what he thought and believed about human vehicles being used as machines that were biological machines, and that's exactly what Tiando were talking about. They didn't use the word machine. They used a biological vehicle, biological clothing, biological instruments. I'm not sure they used instruments. I mean, they use particular words because then when we use those words, we're drawing on their mind. It's that practical. It's really that practical. The more of their terminology we use, the more of their mind we're incorporating into our soul pocket. But it's not that they want us to mimic them, but it's by mimicking them in the ways that they want us to mimic them, especially in terms of information, that we grow. But once we get to the next level, then we are an individual for the first time, and we're not influenced by influences, because, the Luciferian space aliens also know a lot about the next level. So the Luciferian space aliens can also give humans ideas that are about the next level, okay? But the Luciferian space aliens, what they don't know is the terminology that is going to be used by the new older members. So then, therefore, they can't actually program humans how to think about those ideas when they come with new terminology. You know what I mean? Like, for instance, they can't give you a definition of heaven so that everybody who dies and believed that Jesus existed and was from the kingdom of God automatically, as long as they don't kill people and stuff like that, which, you know, of course, Jesus said that there were no unforgivable sins except for blasphemy against the holy mind, the holy information, teaching it to somebody else, telling it to somebody else, influencing somebody else with it. But they think they're going to heaven, and all their loved ones that are dying, whether they were in communication with the real next level or not, are automatically going to heaven, which they may not be. But that's a Luciferian interpretation of that word heaven that was made into the religion, when heaven actually represented all the elevated areas above the earth, and but also pertained to dwelling areas for next level members. And since we know that the next level members have many mansions, many dwelling places, is actually the clearer interpretation of that word that was translated to mansions in the Gospels that Jesus said. There are many spacecrafts that are those dwelling areas, even though a planet, a terrestrial body, can be a spacecraft, can be used as a spacecraft. I'm not saying that the Earth is one of those, but maybe it is. But you know, you notice the tendency is to think of the Earth as a spacecraft and also think of it as a living being, okay? Which I'm not saying doesn't have its truth to it, but I think there's a big difference between a planet that's made into a spacecraft and a soul that is a living being that would wear a vehicle grown in the next level that could transport other vehicles and do other things, like Tian-Do taught, like I talked about in the last broadcast. And those spacecrafts could do a lot of things. So the way the Luciferians sow their seeds of misinformation is by changing the meaning of all the terminology. And the next level permits that, because then they can easily separate those that have more of their mind in them, because the ones that have taken in the mind from previous incarnations with Jesus, and that can be many. I mean, it's not going to be. I don't think it's going to be millions. But I don't know. I don't need to guess. But I mean, we got the number 144,000. Okay. I think that's a decent number to base anything on. So there could be that many individuals that are back now, that many souls back now, that have the opportunity to graduate to their next classroom, that had some experience with the next level before, and is what I'm saying. I'm not. They weren't all newly planted. I'm not talking about because the next level, what they put a different kind of soul into a human vehicle that is going to become the clothing, become the instrument, the vehicle for a returning soul That's in the Heaven's Gate book. I think maybe Sunodi wrote about it, or maybe it was Jan Odie. Incarnating and discarnating, I think is the name of one of those. But it's one of them, I think, that wrote the most about that. That's where I got that from. So, that there's different kinds of souls. And we don't know how many spirits will also be salvaged from the recycling. And those might be individuals that never heard of Tiendo, never had the opportunity to hear about Tiendo. Although maybe some of the souls just never got into a vehicle that heard about Tiendo. I don't know, you know, because all the possibilities are up in the air because I don't have that overview at all. But I have enough overview, I believe, to have some ideas about those possibilities. And I'm not getting any indication from my next level helpers that that's wrong at this point. But I can't assume it either. And I can't assume they'll always correct me. Because I don't know. I'm getting gobbledygook now. Maybe that's them telling me that. That's Sawyer's use of the misinformation mind. The mind of this planet. The whole planet is saturated with the misinformation mind. Nobody is faulted for taking on that misinformation mind, but if they're not seeking the next level mind, then they're just never going to get out of that misinformation mind unless the next level gives them really difficult circumstances to help shock them out of it. And that is happening, and that's why we have all the signs that we have that are causing big stresses on the planet. And those stresses all become part of the measurement. Because this is the time, with angry, that and thy wrath, so the anger of the next level, or the desire of the next level has come, which the desire of the next level is for there to be fruit on the planet. Graduates of all levels of the school in their kingdom, in their kingdom, because it is their kingdom. Everything on earth belongs to the next level. Not one molecule belongs to anybody else but the next level. They designed it all. They provided it all. All the starts, all the genetic structures. They designed all those structures. So the next level's wrath is also said as violent passion, ire, or justifiable abhorrence. They do abhor the behavior and ways that the Luciferian space aliens have promoted in the human kingdom. All the profiteering, all the putting down of life, and the destruction of the planet. It even says in the next verse. Oh no, it's not that verse. Oh no, it's in the same verse I'm looking at, where it's that the next level is going to destroy them which destroy the earth. Well, this word destroy is rot. Okay, to rot. To thoroughly rot. Notice how it's like diabolo, like Diablo, which is the name for the devil, because the devil is the great waste disposal. He actually wrote a long time ago how that there was there was a big garbage disposal on the earth, or the earth was going to become a garbage disposal, or the civilization was to become the garbage disposal, or maybe the earth is the lake of fire. I guess is the ultimate garbage disposal, and those words all relate because Diablo, I believe, comes from destroyer. And that's actually where the Hindu name of God, a name of a god, or maybe a Luciferian fallen angel, because they were once sons of God. So they were infants in the next level. And so compared to humans, they were gods. Like Jesus said, that even the least in the next level is greater than the greatest human, which he was comparing to John the Baptist at the time. So, so the Luciferians are the great destroyers, and they're allowed to be here because they then serve as the garbage disposals. Because everybody that gravitates to their mind, their ways and behaviors, their elevated sense of self, and not having any giving to, even in recognition of those that created them, any thankfulness for being created, being designed, to have this opportunity to live, and being given many opportunities. There's no appreciation for that anymore. And because of that, they are the destroyers of everybody that comes into that same thinking. And you see that around the planet all the time now, to where people will destroy you with their words and even with their weapons if you don't believe the way they believe. In some countries, if you're homosexual, they'll destroy you. They'll kill your vehicle. If you, I mean, that's just one example, but look at the Hindus and the Buddhists killing each other. Islamists are killing each other. Christians are killing each other. Jews are killing each other. And then they're all killing one another. And humans are killing each other, of course. But anyway, so the earth, so they're destroy them which, here it says actually, that fear thy name. Let me go back and read this again. And the nations were angry that thy wrath, the next level's anger or passion or desire, the next level's desire is come. And of course, those that don't have next level mind in them don't like this point, what they're experiencing now. Even though the tribulation was taught to them, a lot of them were thinking they would escape that because they would go with the first fruit. They would be the first to receive the recognition of the next level's presence. When actually Jesus said that the first would be last, and the last would be first, which is one interpretation of that. I can't say I got that from Doe, so I may be wrong. I think Doe actually said that differently, and I have to go back and look at that so I can correct myself and say it more like he said it. Not that the way I'm saying it is wrong, because but I can't say that Doe said it. That's all, and that's a big thing, of course. I don't want people to repeat things that I say unless they say that Sawyer said this about this, and that Sawyer said that Doe didn't say it. which I try to always qualify that. I probably don't do it as much as I should, but if I don't, never mind. I'm getting gobbledygook again. And the nations are angry, and thy wrath is come. Come meaning arrived, being supplied in the present. To come or go, actually, could be. But I think come is appropriate here. And these are all separated, not necessarily separated by short periods of time. It could be separated by many years. Because the time of the dead and the time, which is the Kairos, an occasion, the occasion, or the set or proper time, or the season. And the season, see, right now we're in the harvest season. And that's been happening ever since Tiendo started the harvest in the 1970s. So you can see how long a season is, can potentially be, which we don't know what a time period might be, but the idea of an hour is interesting that Chronos is part of this. Compare Chronos, where Chronos was the father of time. Interesting, right? And that was related to Saturn, the planet Saturn. And Saturn's cycle, I think, is 29 years. So maybe a season would be 29 years. I did wonder that. I did write about that in my book as a possibility. So, but anyway, so that's the time period for the dead to be judged. Okay, but the dead being judged, well, it's talking about the humans that are to be judged. So it could also, so it's also talking about that this and could be actually also. See? Also could be also and both, and then also the time that give reward or pay for service. That's reward. We're working for the reward. The reward is everything we receive from our older members. Life is the ultimate reward. Continuous life. Eternal life. I can't say that, Tiendo didn't hold the reward in front of us. They weren't like a carrot. We need to know that reward existed. They did tell us that the reward was a next level vehicle and service in the next level for as long as we wanted to be in the next level. The next level do not assume that even when you're a member of the next level, you won't change. But I don't know if it's even possible now to change because they keep on raising the bar. Because look at the Luciferians, they may have thought that the Luciferians were stable, but then they found out that they weren't. Maybe they knew that ahead of time. I don't know. But the way Tiendo talked about it was that the next level was going to raise the bar, was the words that T used, on getting into the next level. He said, when I get back, things are going to change. She said that regarding the activity that was reported to be happening on some of the UFO abductions and the contactees and stuff, that she thought was not next level behavior. And so she said, well, if that's next level members doing that, things are going to change when I get back. And but she said, aside from that, she said that the next level was raising the bar on getting into the same next level tasks that the Luciferians had. And they also said that some now that were graduating would replace the tasks that the Luciferians had. And they also said that that's why this experiment was started in the first place, with the Adam and Eve experiment. And they brought the Luciferians to be there to influence Adam to break procedure by breaking instructions, not following instructions. Because then it would start the process of having to go through the lessons to so that he then he had to go through the process of overcoming that influence, which he did by the time that he came back and took over the vehicle Enoch, because Enoch walked with God and was taken with his vehicle. And T said that Doe served in that vehicle as Adam and in the vehicle Enoch. So in other words, Doe learned at that point how he could fail, and he learned how to recover from failure, which he told me was one of the biggest lessons to learn, to recover from failure. And I still haven't recovered from my failure, by the way. So, in case anybody thinks I think I have, I know I haven't. So, and by recovering from failure and then overcoming the human kingdom, he was overcoming the Luciferian influence on him again. And by overcoming that influence on him again, he graduated to his next station. He kept on accumulating more of his older member's mind. And he made his mind bigger and stronger, more dense, however they think about it. And able to be more service to the next level, to actually then usher in new souls into the kingdom, become a Heavenly Father, which he became, especially after he started the Moses task. But it was actually during the Jesus task that he said that his father gave him his students. So the father actually, and that's where he was depicted in Revelation 12 as being birthed to the throne by T, by the woman, which woman actually meant generator of life. Or even, I guess you can even look at it as generator of the vehicles that were brought to life. The souls, generator of souls. and the same thing as the Father, the seed giver. Which is the planting of those soul deposits that can be grown to become next level members that are physical containers. Anyway, but so he's going to reward thy servants, the prophets. Okay, now there's no the, I believe, in the Greek. Although there's, I guess, an assumption of a the. So it might be servants to prophets, to say it properly. So where servants is talking about, it's where the word slave came from. Because even those individuals that were slaves in the Moses camp, or servants in the Moses camp, or what do they call them, indentured servants, in the sense that they were required by their laws to be there for 7 years. And then after 7 years, during the Jubilee year, well, Jubilee year was every 50th year, well, the 49th to the 50th year. But, or maybe it was the 50th year. There's some debate about whether it was the 49th or the 50th year. But I suspect it was the 50th year. But that's beside the point. But each 7 years, I think it was, of being indentured to somebody else, the individual had a choice to either stay or leave. But if they left, I think they left without their children, if they had children. I don't know. I'm not that good of a theologian, especially when it comes to the Old Testament, because I only went to it when I needed to decipher the things that were in the book of Revelations mostly, and the Old Testament prophets said, and that are referred to in the book of Revelations, and things that Jesus referred to in prophecy. That also referred to the book of Revelations and to the Old Testament prophets. So all those things are connected. So that's how much I got into the Old Testament, which I know is not a measurable amount. But so those are servants. Those are which is a good thing. To learn to give service is to be a member of the next level. There's not, and the next level don't lord over you when you're even in the next level. They're not, your older member isn't there all the time, if at all. I mean, I'm sure there's times where you get to see your older members, maybe in their spacecrafts, or when you come back from a task and things like that. And but maybe you could go for who knows how long without seeing your older members. But I think you will continue to have the connection with your older member that you have when you establish it now. In mind, I believe. I think Tiendo indicated that. It's not real clear in my mind. But also, you would serve under other older members that were equivalent to your own older member. And it won't be any lesser service. It's going to be the same fulfillment. And they don't wear different kinds of uniforms. They may have different kind of vehicles. Well, they can have different kinds of vehicles, but I don't know. But you can tell, I guess. I don't know. Tiendo just said you would know who the other older members were. Just like they said, if a spacecraft landed, they said, like, if they left before we did, which they did tell us they might do at one point, early on, they told us that before, I think, we might have, well, I think it was before we even got into houses, into, physical structure. We were still living in camping situations. They had a meeting with us, and they said, we might leave before you. So that was like 1978 or 9, or 1980 maybe at the latest. We might leave before you. They still thought they would leave together at that point. But it wasn't that long before that they thought we'd all be leaving together. Or that they would leave and then come back for us. I guess they said it that way too, early on. But they were making a change when they said that they might leave without us. I know, because they were concerned whether we could survive without them. But they felt like they needed to prepare us for that. And so, so that could have tested people right there, if they were anticipating all leaving together, like ascending together, as it says. Well, never mind. But, because that doesn't mean that the first crew didn't all leave together, because T didn't necessarily leave, go very far away from the planet. Which comes out more when I go through Revelation 12, when she left her vehicle. So, prophets is somebody that's a foreteller, an inspired speaker, by analogy. A foreteller. It's not, I guess, is pro for? No, pro is for, is in front of, prior, above. I think Tiendo didn't like that word prior for some reason. I don't know why. It just stands out in my head that way. Above. So, above or go before. Where pro is what? So above teller could be also a way of saying that. An above teller, where femi is to show or make known one's thoughts. Well, how are you going to do that if you don't actually say something with you? And then it says, for example, speak or say, affirm, say, right? So if someone's not saying something aloud, if someone's talking about what's above aloud, then they are a prophet. They are prophesizing. Doesn't mean telling the future. But it might be talking about the future if it's talking about the next level. But if it's talking about what's above as the space aliens, because they are not above human, but they've convinced a lot of humans that they are above human. Then we're actually false prophets, because remember Jesus said that there will be, in the end time, there will be false prophets and false Christs. In other words, false speakers about the above information. And of course we see that, throughout the religions. That doesn't mean people in the religions are all saying things that everything's false. No, that's not the case. Many in the religions have very excellent, very next level perspectives of certain things. And the next level is working with those individuals, I think, as we speak, to try to help them have the opportunity to learn about Tian-Do if they haven't heard about Tian-Do already. And if they have heard about Tian-Do already and they rejected them, the next level is going to continue to try to help them wake up to seeing that they shouldn't have rejected Tian-Do. Even though they might not have been ready to receive Tian-Do at the time when Tian-Do were delivering their information, because the information was designed so that only the ones that were returning souls of that graduate level class would actually gravitate to Tian-Do, because otherwise, could there be 144,000 students? Tian-Do would not, I think they even indicated that they would need more help to deal with a class of that size, because it's very specialized. They're actually midwifing each student through their birth canal, and that means they have to help each student with their particular challenges, which is not easy to do, because the students themselves, the vehicles of those students, don't have their conscious mind, don't have in their conscious mind what their human characteristics are, because they don't know. Like, for instance, a characteristic of the next level member is to work quickly, but not clumsily. Okay? So Tian-Do taught us to work quickly. But if we were working like quickly in the lab and we were making mistakes, then we were working too quickly. Do said that T worked very quickly, but you didn't know that she was working quickly. So she was very smooth about it. She didn't have any wasted motion. And he learned that by observing T, working in their lab, when they were making food and whatever else they were doing. And it was during that first year that Do was learning all these things about T that made him recognize, not made him recognize, that demonstrated to him that this was his older member. So, so it's saying servants and prophets and saints. So in other words, or servants, the prophets, and saints. That might be more the way it's going, because they're all servants. If they're prophets and saints, so what's the difference between a prophet and a saint? Well, a saint is somebody that gave their life in the past, like with Jesus, or those that gave their life after Jesus left. For whenever they did it, could have been hundreds of years later. That I don't know if some of those souls came back again, as like maybe Saint Francis of Assisi, for instance. So, some of them. I only say that one because that's the only one that T gave some indications of as being a next level member, student member, or maybe archangel kind of member, or a student of an archangel. student to their next station being an archangel, a captain of angels, as opposed to being a crew member, which was an angel or a messenger, as opposed to being a watcher or just something as an observer, which is about the simplest or most, I don't put it, the most elementary task. He didn't say it was the most elementary task in the next level, but he referred to individuals that were in the next level that had elementary tasks, and that they would. Now he said about Adam's vehicle that he experienced a reverse metamorphosis. So I kind of thought maybe that's what the Luciferians also experienced, because after all, that experiment was set up to work against the Luciferians. So maybe the next level made a physical vehicle that was equivalent to the physical vehicles they made for the Luciferians before they fell, while they were in service to the next level on spacecrafts. This way, if Doe's mind could overcome that vehicle through the influence of that present Luciferian soul, then he would be overcoming the remaining humanness that needed to put him on solid ground, and then to enable him to actually graduate to an adult next level vehicle. So and then another group of individuals. So I guess some that are speaking about next level information, speaking about Tian-Do, and I guess that's the task that people have now. Standing for Tian-Do is the task we're gravitating to. I mean, we have to know what Tian-Do taught in order to talk about Tian-Do. I mean, not entirely. I mean, we have to know some of what they taught, but we shouldn't try to we shouldn't try to expand it. Like, for instance, if we're talking to somebody and we're saying Tian-Do said this and they said that, and then they get into an area and you kind of want to do what I kind of do when I slip and try to guess on what they might say to that. Excuse me. That's the time to say, well, but I don't know that's from Tian-Do's mind, so I'm going to go research that and I'll get back to you on that one. And don't feel any shame in doing that, because knowing what Tian-Do once said this little phrase that was very interesting to me. I didn't really understand it much, and I still can understand more about it, but they said that they knew what they did not know, and they knew what they did know. Well, first they said, we know what we know, and we know what we don't know. Maybe they said it in reverse, I'm not sure now. But we also know where to go to learn what we don't know. To learn to know what we don't know. And that's to their older members. So you'll feel good. It will, if it doesn't right away, it's because you need to get rid of that influence that wants to be puffed up. Which, I had that influence too, so I know what that influence is like. The influence wants to shine, wants to be enlightened, wants to show that enlightenment to others. But next level members don't care to show that enlightenment to others. They want to show their older members' enlightenment to others. And when they do show their older members' enlightenment to others, and as it comes through them, as they serve in that capacity, they are joyed by that. It's a joyous feeling. If it's not a joyous feeling, it's an influence. And know that you will, if you keep at it, if you don't feel that joyous feeling, keep at it and you will. And you'll especially feel it if you are asking Tiendo at the time when you're talking to somebody else to help you give this person their mind. And that you would get out of the way of it, of their mind. See, I was in the classroom and I was still vibrating on myself. And, it wasn't all the time, but it was enough to where I wasn't learning my lesson. So, now, when it says destroy the earth here, earth is related to the soil, by extension a region, or a solid part, or the whole of the terrene globe, including the occupants in each application. So it's country, ground, land, world. So in other words, the human kingdom are the occupants that we're concerned about now in terms of these prophecies. So destroy the human kingdom, and at the same time destroying the habitat in the human kingdom. Which, how are they destroying the habitat in the human kingdom? Oh, by toxic food, toxic water, toxic air. Heavily toxic, food that's laden with chemicals, colorations, preservatives, pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, and all their components are still in those foods. And the body's got to deal with that. It breaks down the immune system. And that basically makes it impossible for people to think clearly. It clogs the brain. It helps. How else did it destroy the earth and the human kingdom? By saturating the human kingdom with pleasure being the highest plateau to reach. Physical pleasures. Not that it's wrong to have pleasure, but it's a lower vibration than we can achieve by let me put it this way. The greatest pleasure would be to recognize and be in service to our older members. That's how I get my greatest pleasure. And doing these videos is a pleasure, I have to say, because I'm trying to, I'm asking Tiendo to help me give this information out and be their mind through this. And But I know that can be also be twisted. So, and of course it's easier to do it in this format, when not standing in front of somebody. When I'm doing it one-to-one, it's much more of a chore. Much more of a chore. Because their influences are right there, throwing knives at me. Whether they're intentionally doing it or not doesn't mean anything, because all the dead don't believe in Tiendo, well, except maybe some, are curious about it or have some programming that's from the same mind. I'm not saying there can be many like that. I'm not saying, those are the spirits. They'll all be judged according to their value to the next level when the final judgment takes place. But right now we're in the judgment hour, which I believe is a 40-year period, approximately. But hour isn't necessarily a strict design of hour. They also said that the days would be shortened for the elect's sake. And elect also meant remaining, and that would be us. We're the ones that are remaining after the first fruit left. So if the days are going to be shortened, because what I found from prophecy was that a number of interpretations were all the correct interpretation, because they all had different applications sometimes. And sometimes they were referring to the same application, but doing it in different ways. And I believe that was all done on purpose so that it wouldn't be very clear that it was all talking about the same thing. But the human kingdom is most, I think, destroyed when the truth can be told and nobody wants to hear about it, or thinks it's the truth, or laughs at it, or would treat you as their enemy for talking about it to others. When most of the population is of that mindset, then the human kingdom can no longer serve the next level. And so the next level, recycles the human kingdom. And they do that by also recycling the civilization and all the infrastructures and or most of it. I don't know, if everything goes or not. I think it does. They said it's going to be a new Earth, so new heaven and new Earth, but that might also mean a new human kingdom. But I think it means a new civilization, to where there's not any evidence of the previous civilization apparent until the end of that next civilization, maybe, if that's the way it goes again. Because there's been a lot of evidence of a previous civilization during this civilization. That's why archaeologists are saying that, the religious that say that it's only 6,000 years to the Earth existence are showing their ignorance, because they've got lots of different ways of dating the Earth to be older than that. So, and that's because the Luciferians, twisted and caused the humans to distort that understanding and not really see what the book of Genesis was talking about in that regard. Anyway, I think I covered enough, and I'm definitely going to have to do another broadcast on this verse, talking about judgment, because I think Revelation chapter 13 has a lot to say about it. not only chapter 13, but I want to start with 13. I might not go beyond that. Or I might do that after 12. I don't know. We'll see how it feels at the time, and I'll talk to T and Do about it. Good night.